All right, strap yourselves in because today we're going deep into some pretty dark stuff. The Nazgûl.
Mhm.
You know, the terrifying ringwraiths from Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. You sent us some fascinating excerpts from
Yes.
Nazgûl, and we're going to unpack some seriously chilling stuff about these creatures. For those of you familiar with the Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
get ready to go deeper. We're going way beyond the surface level today.
What's interesting about the Nazgûl is they weren't always these,
Right.
shadowy figures we see haunting Middle-earth. They weren't,
Mm.
born monsters. They were once men,
Uh-huh.
powerful kings and sorcerers.
Kings and sorcerers turned wraiths. Okay, what happened?
Their downfall, well, it all began when they were seduced by the promise of power.
Okay.
The 9 rings, gifted to them by Sauron. These rings, forged with dark magic, promised extended life, dominion over others,
Right.
and the ability to just shape the world to their will.
So it's like a Faustian bargain. They traded their souls for power. But was it instant?
No,
Like, did they suddenly become ring wraiths?
not at all. The process was a slow, agonizing decay. The rings did extend their lifespans,
Right.
but at a terrible cost. Their physical forms began to fade,
Mm-hmm.
becoming more wraith-like over centuries.
Yeah.
They were slowly consumed by the shadows, their will and individuality,
Right.
subsumed by Sauron's, until they existed only to serve his dark purpose. They became the Ulari,
Mm-hmm.
a name that reflected their dreadful state. A Quenya word for the 9 walkers, or as they are more commonly known, the Nazgûl.
The 9 walkers. That's
Yeah.
almost poetic in a terrifying kind of way.
Yeah.
And their appearance, just thinking about them sends shivers down my spine. The black cloaks,
Right.
silver helms,
Mhm.
the lack of a face.
Ah, yes, the lack of a face. That's perhaps their most disturbing feature.
Yeah.
Can you imagine gazing upon them and seeing only an eerie glow? Or
Ugh.
worse, a hellish red flame burning where their eyes should be.
It's like staring into the abyss, pure terror.
Yes.
I'm getting chills just thinking about it. But they were more than just frightening figures, right?
Right.
They had a whole arsenal at their disposal.
Indeed. The excerpts you sent mentioned swords of steel and flame, black maces,
Mm.
poisoned daggers. They were well equipped for physical combat, but their true power lay in their sorcery,
Right.
in the terror they inspired.
So their weapons were almost an extension of their
Yes.
essence. They used terror as like a weapon itself. What kind of sorcery did they wield?
Well, they had a range of spells at their command, summoning
Yeah.
blasting fire, curses, but perhaps the most terrifying was the Black Breath.
Oh, the Black Breath. Even the name sounds terrifying.
Right.
It wasn't just a physical attack, though, was it?
No, the Black Breath was a psychological weapon. It was a curse that spread despair and hopelessness. It could literally freeze the hearts of their enemies.
Yeah.
Imagine being in their presence. Their voices, like whispering promises of oblivion.
Uh-huh.
Their very aura-radiating terror.
It's like something straight out of a nightmare. But hold on.
Yeah.
If they were so powerful, how are they ever defeated? There has to be a weakness, right?
You're right. No one is truly invincible.
Right.
The Nazgûl did have a critical vulnerability. They could only be harmed by weapons, blessed by elvish magic.
Yeah.
It was the ancient power of the elves, passed down through the ages,
Okay.
that could pierce their shadowy forms.
So the elves had the key to defeating these creatures of darkness.
They did.
Fascinating. But were ordinary weapons completely useless against them?
Not entirely. Any ordinary blade that struck them would quickly wither and perish as if their very essence was corrosive.
Mm-hmm.
But blades, forged by the elves, imbued with their ancient magic, held the power to harm them.
Incredible. Okay, so we've established that the Nazgûl were powerful,
Yes.
terrifying,
Absolutely.
and had a very specific weakness. Now let's dive into their history.
Okay.
We know they weren't just lurking in Mordor the whole time, right?
Right.
What role did they play in the history of Middle-earth?
Their reign of terror began in the Second Age of Middle-earth. They became instruments of Sauron's will, sweeping across the land like a dark wave, conquering and subjugating entire civilizations. In fact, they ruled Middle-earth with an iron fist for over 1,000 years.
1,000 years. That's longer than many civilizations have existed. Were they truly that unstoppable?
Their ferocity and power were comparable to Sauron himself.
Mm-hmm.
They became extensions of his will, spreading terror and despair wherever they went. But their initial reign of terror came to an end during the siege of Barad-dûr.
Right.
This is where the last alliance of elves and men, led by Elendil and Gil-galad, finally confronted Sauron.
So in this epic battle against Sauron, the Nazgûl were also defeated.
Yes, Sauron's defeat diminished their power as well. With the Dark Lord vanquished, they were swept away, their forms scattered, their threat seemingly neutralized.
Yeah.
But their story doesn't end there. It's about to take a very interesting turn.
Oh, I knew there had to be more. Hit me with the details.
Remember, while Sauron was defeated,
Right.
the One Ring,
Yeah.
the source of his power, and the very essence of the Nazgûl's existence,
Right.
was not destroyed.
Right.
It continued to exist, a dormant threat waiting to be reawakened.
Uh-huh.
And as Sauron slowly regained his strength over the centuries,
Yeah.
he was able to call his most fearsome servants back from the shadows.
So even in defeat, they weren't truly gone. They were just waiting for their master to summon them back.
Exactly.
That's terrifying. When did they make their grand reappearance?
Their resurgence began in the 14th century, the Third Age.
Okay.
They rose in the east, their power slowly returning as Sauron's influence grew. One of the Nazgûl, who would later become known as the Witch King of Angmar,
Right.
established a kingdom in the north, a region called Angmar.
Hold on. One of the Nazgûls just decided to start a kingdom. Was Sauron okay with this?
It was all part of a grander scheme.
Okay.
Sauron was orchestrating his return to power, and the Witch King's kingdom was strategically placed to destabilize Middle-earth, his target, the Dúnedain.
Okay.
For those unfamiliar, the Dúnedain are the men descended from Númenor, known for their long lifespans and their resistance to Sauron.
Right.
Their kingdoms in the north represented a threat to Sauron's plans.
Okay.
So the Witch King's role was to weaken and ultimately destroy them.
Clever, but incredibly evil. So what happened? Did the Witch King manage to conquer the entire region?
He waged a relentless and brutal campaign of terror, conquering one province after another.
Yeah.
The great cities of the Dúnedain fell one by one until finally in 1974 of the Third Age, the last remaining kingdom, Arthedain, and its capital, Fornost,
Right.
were overrun by the Witch King's forces.
He was on a roll. It's hard to believe anyone could stop him at that point, but I'm guessing he didn't stay victorious for long.
You're right. His reign of terror in the north was ultimately short-lived. In 1975, a powerful alliance of elves and men, led by the Elf Lords Glorfindel and Círdan, and Eärnur, the king of Gondor, confronted the Witch King at the Battle of Fornost.
Finally, some good news. So they managed to defeat the Witch King and liberate the North.
They achieved a decisive victory, routing his forces and driving him from the lands he had conquered. But even in defeat, the Witch King's campaign had achieved a crucial strategic goal.
Okay.
He had successfully crippled the Dúnedain kingdoms of the north, leaving them fractured and weakened. This paved the way for Sauron's eventual return to power.
Wow, so even in defeat, the Witch King dealt a significant blow to his enemies. He was playing the long game. What happened to him after he fled Eriador? Did he just disappear?
He retreated to Mordor,
Okay.
where he rejoined the other 8 Nazgûl. Sauron, though not yet openly revealed, was already working to rebuild his power in Mordor, and the Nazgûl played a key role in those efforts.
I can only imagine the kind of havoc they wreaked in Mordor. It must have been a truly terrifying time to be alive in Middle-earth. Did the Witch King just blend back in with the other Nazgûl, or did he maintain a position of leadership?
He remained the most powerful and feared of the Nazgûl, and he soon earned a new title, one that truly reflects his sinister nature, the Morgul Lord.
The Morgul Lord. That name just oozes evil. What exactly does that title signify?
It signifies his dominance over Minas Morgul, once the fair city of Minas Ithil, which guarded the eastern approaches to Gondor.
Right.
In the year 2000 of the Third Age, the Nazgûl, under the leadership of the Witch King, launched a devastating attack on Gondor. After a fierce siege, they captured Minas Ithil, transforming it into a bastion of darkness and renaming it Minas Morgul, the Tower of Black Wraiths.
Right.
It became the Witch King's seat of power, a place where he could further enact Sauron's will. And it was there, in Minas Morgul, that he donned the crown of steel, declaring himself the Morgul Lord.
A crown of steel in a city named the Tower of Black Wraiths.
Yes.
The imagery is just chilling, but the Morgul Lord wasn't content to simply rule from his fortress, was he?
Absolutely not. He led numerous raids and assaults on Gondor, further weakening their defenses and eroding their morale.
Right.
He even challenged Eärnur, the last king of Gondor, to single combat, slaying him and plunging the kingdom into further turmoil.
He challenged the king to single combat and won. That's a serious power move. It sounds like he was well on his way to conquering Gondor.
His victories certainly put Gondor on the defensive.
Yeah.
But Sauron was still biding his time, gathering his strength in secret.
Right.
The Morgul Lord's reign of terror continued for centuries, a constant reminder of the threat that loomed over Middle-earth.
So we've got this incredibly powerful, vengeful Nazgûl leader wreaking havoc in Gondor,
Yes?
a weakened kingdom struggling to survive, and Sauron lurking in the background,
Yeah.
orchestrating his grand comeback.
Right.
This is setting the stage for some epic conflicts.
You're right. The stage is set for the War of the Ring, and the Nazgûl will play a pivotal role in those events. But we'll delve into that part of their story in the next part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.